as mentioned earlier, we are going to invite Vice Minister Im Sung-nam for his special session. To give you a brief introduction of Vice Minister Im Sung-nam, he joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs MOFA in 1981. And in 1995, he served as First Secretary, Korean Permanent Mission to the United Nations in New York, USA. And in 2002, he was a Director, North America Division 1, also Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In the year of 2006, he served as a special advisor to the minister. A year later, in 2007, he was Director General, North Korean Nuclear Affairs Bureau, and Ambassador for North Korean Nuclear Issue. In 2009, he was the Minister of Korean Embassy in the People's Republic of China. So he has a very extensive knowledge on China as well. In 2011, he was Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs, also a body of MOFAT. And in 2013, he was an Ambassador Extraordinary to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And last year, in 2015, in the month of October, he became the first Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs. I guess that now he's having his busy time interacting with all the reporters for his special interviews, but now we're going to have Vice Minister Im Sung-nam for his special session. Please greet him and give him the big round of applause. Thank you.
I think I was just on time, just like all those reporters gathered here this morning who always try to convey the truth to the public. President Chung Kyu-sung, distinguished participants from around the world, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure and privilege for me to speak before the distinguished audience of all those journalists who are gathered here for the 2016 Journalist Forum for World Peace. I'd like to welcome each and everyone to the beautiful city of Seoul, Korea, in the most beautiful season of spring on the Korean Peninsula. At the same time, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks to the Journalist Association of Korea for allowing me the privilege of speaking here this morning. Today, being surrounded by so many journalists from around the world, I feel like my childhood dream has come true. When I was a small child, my dream was to become a journalist, like everyone in this hall, and then to travel around the world, and then to report about what I have seen, what I have heard, and what I have experienced. Maybe in the age of internet, people might be able to achieve what I wanted to do as a small child in a much easier way. Still, I believe journalism is an important institution in every corner of the world in bringing the facts to the public and in enlightening the public sector as well as the private sector about what is going on in the world and what will be taking place in the world in the years to come. Today, I'm very pleased to have a chance to share my views with you on one of the most pressing security issues the world faces, the North Korean nuclear issue. At the outset, let me provide you with a quick synopsis of the previous efforts to address the North Korean nuclear problems and where we stand today. Some of you might recall the year 1993, when the North Korean nuclear issue came to the forefront with Pyongyang's announcement of its withdrawal from the NPT. There have been two paths taken in the international efforts to resolve this issue ever since. The first has been negotiation. Since the first North Korean nuclear crisis broke out in the early 1990s, there have been repeated breakthroughs and breakdowns in the negotiation process. The first breakthrough was made when the United States and North Korea signed the agreed framework in 1994 that obliged Pyongyang to freeze and eventually dismantle its nuclear program in exchange for 2 light water reactors. Its implementation, however, came to a halt in 2002 after North Korea's acknowledgement of its uranium enrichment program. The second breakthrough came in 2005 when the 6 parties agreed on the September 19th joint statement in Beijing that provided a step-by-step roadmap leading to the verifiable resolution of the North Korean nuclear issue on a reciprocal basis. But the 6-party process has been stalled since December 2008 due to the disagreement over the question of how to verify North Korea's declaration of its nuclear programs. Following the second breakdown, North Korea continued to behave in a hostile manner by conducting a long-range missile launch in April 2009, its second nuclear test in May 2009, the attack on Korea's Navy ship Cheonan in March 2010, and the shelling of Yeonpyeong Island in November 2010. Despite these provocations, there had still been some hope of a negotiated settlement of the North Korean nuclear issue. It was against this backdrop that Washington, in close coordination with Seoul, reached the so-called Leap Day deal with Pyongyang on February 29, 2012, which basically stipulated the initial measures to be taken by North Korea for denuclearization, such as a moratorium on long-range missile launches, nuclear tests, and nuclear activities at Yongbyon, as well as the return of IAEA inspectors. Although this deal was initially welcomed as a modest first step in the right direction towards the resumption of the six-party talks, only 16 days after the announcement of the deal, North Korea made public its plan to launch a long-range missile. notwithstanding the calls from the international community not to go ahead with the announced missile launch, North Korea indeed fired the missile on April 13th, which seriously betrayed the belief that there was room for bargaining of the North Korean nuclear issue. To make a long story short, our efforts to bring North Korea to the right side of history through negotiation have not achieved the desired outcome yet. Figuratively speaking, the international community may have been able to bring a horse called North Korea to water, but it could not make the horse drink water. In other words, it is the horse that has to make the decision to drink the water. The other way has been pressure. Whenever Pyongyang has resorted to provocations, there have been strenuous efforts to put pressure on North Korea. In response to North Korea's nuclear tests and long-range missile launches, the UN Security Council adopted a number of resolutions. Resolutions 1695 and 1718 in 2006, Resolution 1874 in 2009, Resolutions 2087 and 2094 in 2013. All these Security Council resolutions, adopted in the wake of the 3 past nuclear tests and the previous missile launches, however, failed to deter Pyongyang from testing a 4th nuclear weapon in January and launching another long-range missile in February of this year. Ladies and gentlemen, North Korea is now the only country in the world which has conducted nuclear tests in the 21st century and officially declared itself a nuclear weapon state in its constitution. North Korea developed nuclear weapons program within the NPT regime and then announced its withdrawal from both the NPT and the IAEA. Furthermore, the entire state apparatus of North Korea is directly engaged in hard currency earning activities and is functioning as a giant WMD development machine. Given that North Korea never stopped developing its nuclear weapons program under the past Security Council sanctions, it was clear to the international community, including the Security Council early this year, that simply a piecemeal strengthening of previous sanctions would not put a brake on Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions. That was the rationale behind the unanimous adoption of the new Security Council Resolution 2270, imposing unprecedentedly tough sanctions upon North Korea in March. And that's also why we made the painful decision to shut down the Kaesong Industrial Complex the previous months. It is time to make the North Korean regime clearly realize that efforts to sustain itself by exploiting its people and concentrating resources on nuclear and missile development will be futile and self-destructive. We can no longer afford to be pushed around by North Korea's deceit and intimidation. Furthermore, if unchecked, its nuclear program will pose an even greater threat, not only to the survival of the Korean people, but indeed to the stability of Northeast Asia and peace around the globe. In a nutshell, the leadership in Pyongyang must be pressed much harder until it changes its fundamental calculation regarding the value of its nuclear arsenal and delivery capabilities. Recently, however, Pyongyang openly threatened a preemptive nuclear strike against the Republic of Korea and the United States. Its intimidation went too far to the extent that the North Korean media revealed the propaganda footage of the blowing up of the Blue House and the White House. Last Friday, North Korea further challenged the international community by firing a ballistic missile, reportedly an intermediate-range ballistic missile. Although this missile launch was a failure, it constituted a clear violation of Security Council resolutions, including the newly adopted 2270. Faced with this aborted launch, the Security Council, of course, urged Pyongyang to refrain from further provocations and made it clear that further significant measures will be taken in the event of another nuclear test or missile launch. In response to all these threats and provocations, the international community should send a clear message to North Korea that it must stop violating Security Council resolutions and choose a path toward denuclearization. In this sense, the recent Nuclear Security Summit held in Washington, D.C. was a very meaningful occasion where President Park, together with the leaders from the United States, Japan, and China, reaffirmed their commitment to the full and faithful implementation of the UN Security Council resolutions in order to make North Korea realize that even for their own survival, there is no other way out but to return to the path of denuclearization. Being an optimist as well as a realist, I do hope and believe that we can ultimately bring North Korea to the right side of history. My firm belief comes from the fact that the international community, including China and Russia, has never been more united in the determination to counter North Korea's nuclear and missile threat. Now is the time to create an environment in which North Korea cannot survive without changing its calculation. In short, it is the world versus North Korea. In this vein, each and every journalist in this hall is also strongly encouraged to join the global campaign to remind North Korea as poignantly as possible that its pursuit of nuclear weapons and missiles will serve no one's interests, including its own. All in all, the international community has begun an unprecedentedly full-fledged campaign against North Korean nuclear weapons and missile programs through the adoption of the Security Council Resolution 2270. In a sense, the Odyssey has just started, and the road for bringing North Korea to the right side of history could be bumpy as well. We should remember, however, that the North Korean nuclear issue, which has plagued Northeast Asia and beyond for more than 20 years, is not a problem created by Mother Nature. After all, it is a man-made issue, and therefore I do believe that we can find a solution to this problem. In this context, let me conclude by quoting the words of Winston Churchill, whom I came to respect more after the recent tour in London. I quote, "A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, while an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Vice Minister Im Sung-nam, for your excellent lecture. Can you please give him another big round of applause? Thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience. Now we'll have a luncheon hosted by Vice Minister Lim Sung-nam in the National Press Club, which is on the opposite side of this hall. Bon appétit, and we're going to reunite here after your lunch.